A quick glance at guitar websites, you can see the chord sequence for a particular tune. You see your lyrics and then the chords are sort of dotted about so that you can change for a particular syllable, and it's actually generally quite clear. However, there are problems with this, because if you want to transpose a song, let's say you're in A major and your vocalist wants to just nudge it up by a half step, which actually makes all the difference to a singer because of dead spots and range and all of that sort of thing, you find yourself in the key of A sharp major written on the computer. That doesn't look right, and indeed it's fairly terrible as a key to work in. It has 10 sharps in its key signature. How are we going to get around this then, and what should it be? Well, let's have a look. In the introduction, I talked about A sharp major, which is ridiculous. If I play it to you on the piano, you can see on your other camera the keyboard, and I'm going to play the scale and call the notes out. A sharp, B sharp, C double sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp, G double sharp, A sharp. I had to play it slowly because actually it took all my concentration to get those notes right. Now, actually, it has to follow the alphabet. That's the whole point of a scale and a key, is that you have to have one letter only. You can't have two. So we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. It's really hard because it's a key that doesn't exist. The better way to do it is to say, well, instead of 10 sharps, let's have 2 flats instead. B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and then the B flat at the end, which was the same as at the beginning. It looked like there were 3 there, but there were only 2 different ones. So everything else was a natural. So it makes much more sense to write in the key of B flat major. Now, if the original chord sequence went A and E, for example, if the computer says, oh yes, so let's just put A sharp instead, it would probably make the next chord an F, because it's a natural note. Now, A and E and B flat and F are the same distance apart, but if you see A and E on your computer and then A sharp and F, that doesn't look right on the page. That's actually 6 notes or 6 letters rather than 5. And that is the problem. Now, historically, and I'm not going to sort of spend too long on this, sharps and flats were different things. F sharp and G flat were different. Now, if I just give you a brief demo on the violin here, if I was playing in the key of G minor, I have this. I have G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F sharp and G. Now, a violinist would actually sharpen that F sharp a little bit further. So if I just play something that's in G minor, now the G is the same, but the F sharp on the violin, it tends to be pushed a little bit higher because it's what's called the leading note. So the main note being G, I might also flatten the B flat, just to further accentuate that minorness. Whereas on the piano, it's a little bit sharper. That's where the problems kind of began, with the whole idea of saying that A sharp is the same as B flat. In modern terms, it is. It's exactly the same sounding note, but the way it's written on the page is completely different. Also on your screen, you can see I've just put the circle of fifths up. Now, this is how keys and scales work. So if you look at the 10 o'clock position, you will see the key of B flat major. That is also technically the key of A sharp major, which I just described just now. But the trouble is you've got so many more sharps in A sharp major than the flats you have in B flat. So it's important to settle on the fact that you should be looking at a key that has the least number of sharps or flats in it. Now, of course, at the bottom you can see F sharp and G flat. They are the same with 6 sharps and 6 flats, and there are people who prefer playing in F sharp major, and there are people who prefer playing in G flat major. I mean, for example, the associated board, the ABRSM, always asks for F sharp major and not G flat major, but rock school asks for both. And there it is, you see, the rock school will ask for both G flat and F sharp major, because actually in rock and pop terms you come up against this sort of problem of keys that don't really make much sense, more than you would if you were reading a score in an orchestra, for example. So you could have C flat major. That's 7 flats. Or you could turn it into 5 sharps, which is B major. That may be easier. C flat major does exist. It is used. Anything up to 7 sharps or 7 flats is actually used, but no more. You wouldn't, for example, have, just thinking about it, G sharp major, for example. That doesn't work. That's got 8 sharps. As soon as you start having to double your sharps, that's where the problems begin. Notes should only have 1 sharp in front of them. Of course, you do get double sharps and double flats, but they are mostly related to the fact that you've got to maintain this sort of alphabetic sequence in your notes. So if I was to play C flat major, that would go C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat and C flat. I haven't had to put any double sharps there, and that's fine. You get F flat, which is a white note. That's slightly confusing. But if I have G sharp major, which I just mentioned, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp, G sharp. So that's my double sharp. That's the reason there are 8 sharps in that key, is that one of them is a double. So you have your maximum of 7 sharps, then you have to add another one somewhere along the way, and it becomes a nuisance. So if you are on a tab site and you do transpose into that key, it's worth printing it out and actually just looking for those, what are called intervals. A sharp to F. It's just a pain in the neck because you've got 6 letters instead of 5. So watch out for all of this. I hope the historical account of sharps and flats makes a bit of sense. In modern terms, not really, but in alphabetic terms and music terms, it's still very much relevant.